So I found something that I did not expect. I ran into this morning. If somebody posted on their story, and I guess I can't wrap my brain around it because the concept as a counter to some of the legislation that's out there makes sense, I guess, if you're trying to like be as extreme as some of it. But on the flip side, just don't think it really makes sense. So I'm going to show you what I saw, and we're going to dive into the subject a little bit. It's going to be kind of all over the place while I figure out. I'm doing this in the moment, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so my intention is to bring up some articles about this. Have you guys heard of this? It's called, where is it called? I think it's called Conception Begins at Erection. I don't know how much of this I might have to spin some of it back. We'll see. But okay, so from what I'm gathering, and by the way, I haven't looked into this at all. So I'm assuming before looking into this that it's saying that the moment, like basically it's trying to hold guys responsible for example, for unwanted pregnancy. But on the flip side, there's so much to get into on this. So saying that, I didn't realize that was going to pop up. Okay, so I saw this morning and I have not done any research into it. And so I'm just going to say, let's watch this first. I pulled up Twitter. This is a Twitter account that I basically have no history with. Like, I have it and I can't remember the login credentials for my main one. So I'm just going to use this one. I don't search with it. I don't comment with it. So it should be pretty simple to get, and I don't want to say unbiased, but like some kind of where it's not biased by my algorithm. Let's put it that way. So I put in, wow, I didn't even start the video, but I put in conception begins at erection. You can see it at the very top. And this is the first thing that came up. I'm gonna have to put my headphones on so I can hear it too. Oh, well, okay. We're just gonna be all big and stuff. All right, hold on. Let me fix this. I didn't exactly expect that. All right. So I'm going to watch this. This is the first time I'm watching this. I have no idea what they're saying. Let's find out.
All right, a warning up front about this next story, okay? It may not be suitable for young children to hear, so just take a moment on that. We're talking about a new bill in Columbus. It's getting a lot of attention. It's nicknamed the Conception
By the way, I am from Ohio originally. That's where I was born. So I'm not saying that this affects me in any way. I don't live in Ohio, but I don't know. I saw Ohio. I'm like, of course it's Ohio, which if I'm not mistaken is a highly Democrat state usually. So I don't know. I don't keep up with politics there for sure.
Begins at Erection Act.
Columbus Bureau reporter Morgan Trout explains it's an attempt to expand the conversation about unplanned pregnancies and whether men should be held accountable as well. One more reminder, this report does use technical language.
We're going to use the real words for the pieces and bits that we're talking about. So let me clarify. I guess we're talking about biological men and biological women because, I mean, unfortunately, you have to clarify that. I don't know why, but apparently you have to clarify that that's, what it takes. And it's obvious that what they're talking about is something to do with, basically if there's an unwanted pregnancy and it's the woman's responsibility when it comes to dealing with or being regulated, whether they're allowed to handle or deal with that. I will say this though. I told my teenage daughter this, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart. If you're going to do the thing, then you need to protect yourself. Stop relying on everyone else. So in other words, if you're a female and you're going to do the dirty, don't say, oh, well, we had, the condom is fine. The guy should get contraception. Okay. How about you just protect yourself and then you don't have to worry about it. Or in worst case scenarios, close them. I tell my daughter that. So like, you can get mad at me and you can put it in the comments if you don't like me saying that, but it's a fact. Protect yourself. Stop relying on other people to do it for you, and stop thinking, well, if it happens, I'll have an out. Prevention means more than all the icky after stuff. Okay. So just like have some class and some respect for yourself and take care of you. Now, that being said, let's go. I get that this is the counter to that, and I get it. This is holding men responsible. I understand that. I agree with that. to a point. This is a bit much, but okay.
You don't get pregnant on your own.
That's why gynecologist and Ohio State Rep. Anita Samani wants to start regulating men's reproductive health care.
If you're going to penalize someone for an unwanted pregnancy, then why not penalize the person who is also responsible for the pregnancy?
She introduced a bill that would make it a felony for men to discharge genetic material without the intent to fertilize an embryo. There are some exceptions.
Okay, this is a bit much. And here's my thoughts on this. And I'm gonna let it play in a second. It's only 2 minutes long, but here's the thing. I understand holding men who it takes two to tango, hold men accountable. I get that. But here's the thing. What did I just say? Hold yourself responsible for your own safety, right? And what you want done and what you're okay with accepting. If you participate in something, and I'm saying this as a woman, if you participate in something, you know that there's a possible outcome. So stop saying, well, it's your fault too. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Of course it's two people's fault. That's why they should, and I'm saying this with all the bias in the world. I have every right to say this. This is why they should enforce child support orders and, or take away parental rights for men who do not participate and won't get out of the picture because they don't like to do that. They're like, well, what if in, 30 years who cares? They're not there. They're not participating. I'm not saying taking away men's rights. I'm saying when someone has time and time for a decade shown that they're not interested, they don't care, and they will not support, and they will not participate, and they have nothing to do with it, they should have absolutely no legal right to have any type of say in said child's life. If, blah, blah, blah. That's a totally different conversation. Saying that men should be responsible, yes, that's the point, is because until that child is born, it's the woman's responsibility. I'm not saying that it wasn't made with two people. I'm saying it's your body, your choice. So you can't have all of the things. You can't have both. You can't have it's my body, my choice. I make all the decisions. He has no right to speak and then say, oh, but by the way, it's your fault and it's all on you. Like, you can't have both. It's either a dual responsibility or you're in charge of your own person and you're responsible for your own actions and you're responsible for what happens in your choices and you own that. And then they participate in the way like support and, all of those things providing for, or they get to make the same decisions that you do. So you can't have it where, well, you can't make a decision about what I want to do with my body, but you're just as responsible for me allowing you to do this to my body and for you to do this without the intention. You just can't have it both ways. I don't know. Maybe this will change my mind. Who knows?
Exceptions, such as if you use protection during sex with a partner or masturbation. So what this would apply to is consensual sex without a condom, without actually wanting to procreate.
It's beyond ridiculous what's going on here. It's a mockery of the most basic biological concepts.
That sentiment is something both anti-abortion advocate Austin Beigel and Samani agree on.
If you think it's absurd to regulate men, then you should think it's equally absurd to regulate women.
So this is really a statement.
It is a statement.
Voters legalized and protected the right to abortion in 2023, but activists like Beigel are still trying to reverse that. He says that in the coming weeks, lawmakers will introduce a new bill to criminalize abortion totally.
Just says human life begins at conception. Therefore, all the protections that are offered to other people under the state law are also offered to the preborn.
He adds that he understands that Samani is being satirical, but that she's missing the mark.
The pro-life movement has never tried to regulate women's bodies. We're trying to regulate the actions of people who want to kill another person.
Beigel says this bill is invasive and isn't based on science, and he questions how the Democrats are
Okay, so that's a really good point, because the whole thing is that from my experience, now this might not be your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. That's okay. But the whole argument or conversation about being pro-life or pro-choice has nothing to do with, seriously, bro, has nothing to do with anything aside from the fact that the people who are pro-life, and I'm going to dumb it down, they believe that abortion is murder. Therefore, murder is not okay. Therefore, it should be illegal, period. The only thing on the table, and everybody else in the entire world says, oh yeah, murder is illegal. Murder should be illegal. Okay, so the argument boils down to what is considered a live person where you can be punished. Now, here's another fun fact. If someone murders a pregnant woman, they get 2 counts of homicide, right? So But if the mother does it, she doesn't get charged. Do you see what I'm saying? That is the argument that pro-life people are making, because they're like, if murder is murder is murder is murder. Do you see what I'm saying? So then they go into the argument of you should prevent it, do contraception and prevention or abstinence in order to prevent the possibility of murdering an unborn child, is what they're saying. Okay. And like I said, this is just be an observations and generalizations. I have done no research into this whatsoever. But the point is, you know, if you don't want to murder a kid, don't get pregnant type vibe. And then people are like, well, it's my body. If I don't want to be pregnant, I shouldn't have to be. Well, there's multiple ways to have prevented you from getting to that point, to that step. Okay. It's not the guy's fault that you're like, sure, let's do this. Now, I'm not talking about exceptions, y'all. I'm not talking about exceptions. Everyone immediately goes to the, well, some people don't have a choice and some people are I get it. Of all people, I get it. That is not a general conversation. Those are, unfortunately, not as one-off as they should be, but those are more of a one-off. So if you're talking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1% versus the mass majority, the, you know, however many thousands that this is happening, you know what I'm saying? If you're talking about 1 out of like a million, I understand that 1 out of a million matters, but that is a separate conversation. That is not a generalization and conversation for legislation necessarily in a one-off case. I think those should be able to be handled separately in and of themselves. That being said, I think this is hilarious and wild, because of course they're going to go, oh, so I can't even like just have sex for fun. You can't just have fun? Because not everybody is having sex for the purpose of being pregnant. That is a religious thing generally, that people that don't believe in contraception, that's a whole different conversation. And it is satirical. It is, but it's just so, it's hitting wrong, because it just makes no sense. Seriously, bro?
Spending their time.
If they think that it's a waste of taxpayer money, well, then they should
Everything's
think
a waste
the
of
same on
taxpayer
the other side.
This bill likely isn't conceivable in the GOP-controlled legislature,
Conceivable?
but it is heating up the conversation. At the Ohio State House, I'm Morgan Trow reporting.
Okay, so there was that. I don't even think I need to look into or get opinions on or watch anything else. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I need a single thing, because here's the thing. It's wild. So in theory, as a counter to women, you're not allowed to, you know, end a pregnancy if you don't want to, if you want to. As a counter to that, well, you know, men shouldn't. I just think it's so absurd. It's so absurd. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. No one, I have never heard, now I'm not saying that it hasn't been said, but I've never heard anyone say that you should only participate in sexual activity if you have the intention of being pregnant. I've never heard anyone say that. Well, I'm sure that people do say that, because, you know, there's extremists on every side, but I don't think that that's necessarily a thing. They're saying that if you're going to, you need to prevent it, instead of using, that is the big argument, is using abortion as a way, a method of preventing pregnancy. So like, for example, if you you go into a relationship and you decide that you're going to go home with somebody and you're going to have fun, I mean, good for you. Far be it for me to kink shame, because I ain't going to do it. Do your thing. But then to say, well, it doesn't matter that I'm not using protection, because, well, I can always just get an abortion. Just like I'm going to get married, but I can always get a divorce. So who cares if it doesn't work out? I'm not going to put, what do I care if it's not really, if it's really not a good fit? Like, it's that same argument. Like, shouldn't, that's the point, is you shouldn't go into it thinking, okay, well, I can always just get an abortion, which I think is the argument. And I think a lot of people focus on the fact that, well, but if I want one, I should get one. And it's like, that's not the argument. Isn't if you should have the right to get one. The argument is, should you have the right to kill a human being? And at what point is it considered a human being? That is the actual argument. As much as a lot of people don't like that, they want to make it about something that makes it sound like they're being told they're not allowed to. I mean, what are you not allowed to do? Go around and have sex with people without thinking about the consequences? Maybe people should be thinking about consequences. You know, there's just too many kids out there that just don't have a full family unit, and they just are, you know, they're the ones hurting. Oh, well, you know, that's a good argument for abortion. No, because you made a bad choice Now, instead of making sure that child has the best life possible, you're going to be like, well, the kid would suffer without a dad. So I just, that whole thing's a whole thing. I could get into it. I actually started prior to to my podcast. It started with an argument between me and one other person. It wasn't an argument. It was a discussion where it was just respect for each other's opinions. We didn't agree with each other on any point. At any point, but we sat in a voice chat on Discord and people sat in the background and listened. And if you're one of those, please comment below because I know who you are. And it'd be really cool to see you if you're still around. And I was told you should really talk about things and have these discussions. And that's one I would love to have. I don't like to get into stuff like this because people get nasty. And frankly, I just don't want to hear anybody being nasty. And I don't really care what you think. It's true. But this is interesting. I do believe hands down that men should be held a lot more accountable. I don't think that women should rely on men being held accountable as their way of protecting themselves. So a man not, the women do it too, so don't pretend like they don't. A man saying, well, I have no intention of getting you pregnant, so blah, blah, blah. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're not thinking about it. Maybe they're horny. And on the flip side, there are women who go out there and they're like, I'm on birth control. Everything's fine. The guy's like, okay. And then they're like, hey, oops, I really wasn't. There's that, just because in the moment you just don't want it to stop and you just say whatever it takes. Nobody does that, right? Ever? Bullshits to get in someone's bed? Really? Anyway, I thought this was interesting. What do you guys think? What do you think about this legislation? Do you think it's just a way to be like, well, you said that women have to they can't prevent pregnancy, so men, if they're not intending pregnancy, they need to stop getting off. Like, do you think it's satirical? Do you think that it's a joke? I'm curious because I think it's wildly hilarious. Because I don't know. I just have this picture of guys like, and I get that they said, I know that my makeup is messed up. Ignore me. I get that I can just picture, they said an exception is like masturbation. I get that. But I have a picture of like a guy, like in some back room and like, it's the police. Speaking of that, I actually saw something hilarious and I saved it. Let me find it. It was a comment on, I think World Star posted this whole thing. Hold on. Okay, so World Star, Felix, don't start. I have to zoom in, I guess. Like, good gracious, that's, open in the browser. Huh, smart one, Kat. Thanks. Let's zoom the heck in. Okay, so it says the proposed bill isn't intended to pass. It was intended to make a statement. If you think it's absurd to regulate men, you should think it's equally absurd to regulate women. The Conception Begins at Erection Act was done to highlight the disparities that penalize women for unwanted pregnancy while not penalizing the person who's also responsible. There's that whole verbiage argument where penalizing women, saying you got pregnant, you knew what you were doing, you got pregnant. Now that you did, and you're like, oh shit, I understand that you don't want this, but there are other options. When is it actually a child versus being a concept? Let's put it that way. So the penalization is for, let's look from one perspective. On the pro-life side is for murdering a child. So of course there's penalties, right? You can't murder a child. That's what they're saying. That's penalizing them for an unwanted pregnancy. Well, it was a choice. So that's where the whole mess comes in that I don't like getting into, because frankly, I think some of the opinions are just wild and weird and make no sense. So anyway, okay. So of course, here's the immediate single moms left and right out here, fucking it up for them when they really need an abortion due to medical reasons and complications. Those are those one-offs I was talking about. I'm not talking about one-offs. Where did it go? I swear it was right here. Hold on. Oh, it was so funny. It basically said, oh, there it is right there. What am I thinking? Her. Damn, did you pull out? Him. Hell yeah. FBI. We got one. So all those Wi-Fi's called FBI van have a purpose. It's right here. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. I was like, anyway, what an interesting topic. I didn't get any conclusions. I didn't do any research. What you see is what I've done, except for the screenshot. You can see that I obviously saw the initial post. I saw the comments and I decided to come here and make a video about it because why not? I'll probably have to censor it. Okay. It's not made for children. Well, no shit. What's the irony that is a video about conception begins at ejaculation or erection? Sorry. is not meant for kids. I mean, who would have guessed? Not meant for kids. Get it? Not meant for kids. Conception, prevention. Get it? Who is sending me 35? Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. Apparently, I need to respond to like, I just got like 8 to 10 pings right there. Have a good day. Drop comments if you wanted me to go live and talk about this or add this to my list of things to go live and talk about. I think I might be going live Wednesday. We'll see. Let me know in the comments. Please just comment because you love me. Oh, my screen just turned off. It's like, nope. Have a good one. Have fun. This is wild, y'all. Oh my God.